Hey, Chad Peterman here, your host of the Can't Stop the Growth podcast, a show that advances the home services industry and beyond. In this exclusive series, I've joined forces with Camp Digital to bring you powerful learnings that advance you and your business in the realm of all things marketing. Together, we bring content that empowers you to build a positive, healthy workplace for you, your people, and your bottom line. So let me officially pass the mic to Camp Digital for today's episode, chock full of insights that you can take and apply to your growth. Now listen and grow.
Welcome to Around the CAMPfire. I'm Katie Donovan, CEO of Camp Digital, and I'm excited to share conversations with real home service business owners and executives. Some of my favorite people who I think are the industry's top leaders, innovators, and trailblazers. Each episode, we dive into stories behind successful home services businesses, the wins, the challenges, and everything in between. Our goal, to share real stories from real people. So grab a seat around the campfire and let's get started. It's Katie Donovan here with Camp Digital. I am super excited about the conversation we're going to have today with two of our clients and now I think very good friends, Tom and Karen Balko from Vector Services. I was really excited when we're talking about who to have a conversation with, who to bring on the podcast with these two particularly, because one, their story, I think, resonates with what a lot of people go through in the space, but also they're just amazing. I've never had a conversation with either of them that I haven't learned something or taken something away from. So I'm really excited. Tom, Karen, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us, Katie.
Great. And you guys are in it's separate. You guys are in the one location, but two separate rooms right now as we speak. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's a true statement.
So if we can get you guys fighting with each other, we won't hear each other. There's no shots going to be fired or anything, right?
We'll behave.
Oh, okay. Shoot. I don't like it when you
I know.
behave, Karen. I like it when you're spicy. All right. Well, let's get to it. Because I started out by saying that I love your story. I think it resonates with so many people. I'm just going to ask you guys right away, like right out of the gate. Tell me a little bit about your background, how you got in the space. Give me a little bit about your story.
Well, I'll jump in there, and I've been in the industry for 25 years with city inspections and real estate, and really kind of dove into that. And right along the way of about 2014, I wanted to learn how to get into the home service industry and work under a company that was doing primary commercial work, and literally started there and worked my way up from just going on the roof and changing filters. I said, let me learn from the beginning, because that's how I want to learn. I want to get into sales. And so I worked that way and got into the opportunity to learn it. And during the journey, is like, I think I told you the story, Katie, that, as we grew, but in those days, when I was getting my first paycheck, because I had started something all new all over again, I was getting paid on Friday, and on Thursday, I was like, I have $5. I have to make the decision, because it was pick up your check, go to the bank back in 2014. And I'm like, do I put the money in the gas tank or do I eat? And obviously, I put the money in the gas tank to get to pick up my check. And that was the defining moment, the springboard to say, I never want to put myself in this position of not worrying to have to put gas in the tank or eat. So yeah, I was all in, absolutely all in on that. So it was a great journey. And what was really special about that time period is I met Karen. And so I said, hey, I'm going to start a company. I want to start a company. And she's like, but I said, I work a lot. And Karen says, well, I work a lot too. And I'm like, well, let's see. So we literally started dating at the same time, started a company. The backstory to that is how I got to starting the company is I went to the owner of the company and I said, hey, give me sales. I want to pay me what I'm going to pay my sales. And we agreed on a percentage. I said, I don't want to come back and say, I'm making more money than the general manager. I don't want you to come back. He's like, why would I do that? And I said, because I have a lot of connections in my industry that I had to bring to the company. And he's like, well, I would never do that. So we agreed on a percentage, and literally within 2 months, I was bringing in more business than they could handle. And some big clients in the Twin Cities. And they brought me into that meeting and said, we got to have a talk. And I said, okay. And they're like, well, we're paying you more than the general manager. And I said, we had our word on that. You shook. And he's like, well, we're not going to do that. Why would I do that? And I go, that was the day Vector Services started in my head right around the same time I was dating Karen.
Well, and I was saying, I knew you were a good salesman because with $5 in either your gas tank or your belly, you're still able to land Karen, and somehow convinced her to start this business with you and be your wife. So we knew you were a good salesman from the start. So
Katie, do you want to hear something else funny? When we first started dating, Tom's car was one of those cars where the starter was going out. He was so afraid because he drove on the first date that if his car didn't start, we would have to wait around for 7-8 minutes. And he's like, oh my God, she'll never continue dating me. Here, I can't even start my car.
I love it. I love it.
Humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings. And that's actually one of the things I'm so glad you shared that story, because that's something that but I love about the trades. You don't need to be wealthy. You don't need to come from rich parents. You don't need to come from an education background. You just need the will and the drive. And you guys really represent a lot of businesses being a married couple. So it's you two, and you have one other in the space as well, and your partner, Mark,
Yep.
Mark Getz, correct?
Correct. Mark and I started it in later 2024, and we
2014.
did 2014. That's it, that we started it. And like I said, Karen came along, and the great thing about Karen is she saw that I struggled with the most basics. I didn't know Excel. I didn't know computers. I was literally writing it on folders on the floor, and that's all I knew how to do, because that was okay. And she's like, let me help you. And Karen came in for the first 2.5 years. Karen, you can tell the story. 2.5 years of helping.
I just said, what can I do? I had another job I was working at, the Minnesota Hospital Association. I was okay on a daily basis, but I could see him struggling. So I'm like, what can I do? I'll help you nights, weekends. Let's get you organized to at least make sense of this, because, you just don't know.
So many businesses in this space start this way. There's a great book coming out from a friend of mine who had Mainstream Electric in Spokane, Washington. And she writes about like her husband starting a business and her getting involved in it. So many businesses. That's why I don't mean to sound, but I love the trades, not just for this reason, but this is one of the reasons why. There's so many husbands and wives, and the wives are nurses. I think of Roy down in Texas, and his wife, who she does everything she can when she comes home at night after they're done feeding the kids. They're doing stuff. So I love this space for that. And you guys had a great story. I mean, Tom, so many stories to start with. I have $5 in my tank, and then my significant other really just kind of buckled up and jumped in and really helped me out. I absolutely love that story. Would you say that's kind of one of the biggest challenges you faced, Tom, at the beginning, was stuff you didn't know or things you didn't know, or how would you summarize that?
Absolutely. It's absolutely 100%. And without Karen, like I said, I mean, 2.5 years, she worked before she even took a paycheck. I mean, and we were dating during that period, and it's like so many things that I don't know in the beginning, and it's okay to, you're proud and you're afraid to ask for help, but that's the biggest thing, is ask for help. And I'm so glad that I did with that.
Oh man, I wish if you're listening to this and not watching it, you're going to want to just bookmark this and see Karen and realize again, he had her 2.5 years, a car that wouldn't start, and somehow still convinced her. You guys, he's one hell of a sales guy. Let's just, we know that right out of the gate. So tell me a little bit about a moment in your business that made you go, wow, like I did it. Like, how did you know with that hard start and just scratching your way to success? Where was the wow moment?
That was really it's hard for us to look back on, because sometimes we don't step back enough and say, wow, we did a good job, or we've really come a long way. And
I got to put a pause on that. I hear that drives me insane about this space. Is I'm only a $1 million shop. I'm only a $3 million shop. My God, most businesses don't get there. No, you're sorry.
You should be proud on that, right?
Yes, yes. You guys are.
Yes. And so we look back on it, and I'm like, wow, literally a year ago, we had just started, hired a journeyman and a master electrician. We had no electrical department. We took a gamble. We hired them. We had 0 wrap trucks on the roads. They were all the creepy white van syndrome, And it wasn't until March where we got our first vehicles. And now we've just ordered we have on order, or actually they're done, 26 and 27 of the wrapped vehicles. So we went from in March to 0 to now, less than a year later, 27. So
shout out to Kick Charge there.
Yeah. Kick Charge did an amazing job of, giving us a brand and recognition around town. and you know what? And then our electricians, we started with 2, and we now are going to be going up to 8. So it's huge accomplishments. And sometimes we don't take the time to step back and really appreciate and pat ourselves on the back for what we have done and what we've grown into.
Do you mind sharing some of the ballpark revenue numbers around that growth?
At the end of 2023, we were at 3.6. And then this year we're wrapping up, what was it, Tom? 6.7?
6.75 or 6. Yeah, 6.75. So, and that are, that's a big growth considering we have no brand in a very, very tough, Minneapolis is a tough market, a lot of private equity, as you know, Katie, and so we're pretty proud of that number. And we brought on electrical, and
you should be proud of that number.
Yeah. HVAC and plumbing. So again, we can't, there's so many factors, Camp Digital, Kick Charge, bringing it in, and so many factors that came together. And we can always say, why didn't we start it sooner? But we're just glad we started. Everybody can say, why didn't we start sooner? But we started, and it's been amazing journeying.
And anyone who hasn't seen your brand, I will give a lot of credit. Kick Charge did a really beautiful job. I know Kick Charge gets painted with the brush of like cartoonies and mascots, but you guys didn't go that route. You went like just the V for your brand name, and I think it looks beautiful. The trucks look beautiful.
Yeah. And that was again Dan's team, Dan Antonelli, and he said, hey, we still do some commercial, let's tie it in there. And so we stayed, they did it great. And what I love about Dan is he's a lot like you, Katie. He's going to tell you what he thinks, and that's what you're the expert, so we want to hear that. No, you're wrong. Do it this way. And so they
sweet,
really
timid, shy me. What are you saying? I'm not. I'm missing it. So, what was the biggest, like, what was the moment you're the most proud of then in the job? Let me back up. You guys have so much to be proud of, and that's part of the reason I wanted you guys on the podcast. But is there one moment you look at and you say, yep, that's the thing I'm most proud of so far?
Karen, let me say, after 10 years of growing the company, Karen and I finally got off my butt and did propose to her. So she didn't see it coming. We dated for 9 years, and I'm like, we're gonna get married. But what we talked about, if you want to talk, this is going to tie everything into one we're proud of, that our wedding, we had 3 families at our wedding. We had our immediate family, we had our work family, and then we had what we call our camping family. It was 135 people, but everybody said that our family, and they're like your work family. They absolutely love you guys.
It's true.
So I think,
and we love them. They are our family. It's not only their family, it's their kids and watching their kids. I mean, when their kids walk through that door, I'm probably the first one in line that will come up and I want the hug from them, because you know what? They are an extension of us. So, and I can't wait to watch them grow and turn into teenagers and, graduate and move on. And it's so exciting for us.
So to circle back, the journey of having the 3 different families that we all love to come together, that was by far was like, this is cool, and it's really to have that.
I love that, because I think that's something special and unique in the space that we choose to work in, and we choose to work in it, right? You came from real estate, Karen. I know you've got a couple of side hustles and that do very, very well. We choose to work in the trades, and one of the things I love about that is exactly that. In the trades, we build better lives for people. And actually, for anyone who doesn't believe that these 2 are trades through and through, I think you guys got engaged at a trades event. You got engaged, I think, down in. Did you get engaged right after Home Service? No, you didn't? Not at Home Service Freedom? Where was it?
No, we were on our honeymoon during Home Service Freedom.
Oh, sorry, honeymoon. What was I thinking?
Yeah, but you were close. No, it was in Mexico. And and the cool thing is she didn't see it coming, so that was pretty.
I love it.
I
love it. Well, I absolutely love it. And I love what you said about the families, because that is really something that's really unique and amazing about the trades, for sure. Is there one game-changing decision you think that really made a big impact? Something you'd go back to and say, boy, this was, that your growth doubling essentially in a year in it. people can talk about doubling during COVID and all these great things they grew during. It was not as challenging as it was this last year. You guys doubled during a very challenging year. Was there something you'd kind of point at and say, boy, that was really a big game-changing moment?
Well, yeah, I have to say that it was Kick Charge and the rebrand. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
we would never ever have gotten to where we were in those beautiful trucks that we had. But and then adding the electrical team on, and they're amazing. They are absolutely amazing. So it was like the perfect storm that happened for us. And although it was scary and we weren't sure, we're like, holy cow, we're really taking a gamble. What
Perfect storm, but the brand, and again, poor Dan and Kick Charge are going to think this is a commercial for them, but I'm a huge fan. The brand makes a huge difference in attracting people, right? Like there's pride in getting in those beautiful trucks as opposed to, that you hand out free candy with every visit in that truck trucks, right?
Exactly. And we have heard more comments. Oh my gosh, I can see them coming down the road. And, they are unique in the Twin Cities area. There's certain colors that are very popular, and we're kind of complete opposite of it. So you see our vans when we're coming down the road.
Well, and I think, Katie, you can attest to that. It drives cost up on your side of it.
Makes it easier to hire, drives costs down, makes brand recognition and recall so important in the space, trust factor. All right, tell me about an obstacle you guys face. Like we're talking about all these great things. What's one big obstacle you point your finger at and say, boy, that was I love this question because some of my best learnings were from my worst mistakes. And I feel like if I can tell people about those and tell them to avoid it. So is there anything like that you'd say like, boy, this was something where next time?
I think the obstacles is when you're in that sweet spot of you're not big enough, you don't have branded vans or a company brand, it's hard to hire good employees, and bringing, shout out to Aaron and Riley for taking the chance. They're the electrician, the master and the journeyman that came as a team. We always say they took a chance. They're always like, well, thank you for taking a chance on us. I'm like, you guys took a chance on Vector, because they understood what we were, the cost to start up a brand new division with no leads. And so bringing that on in a very, again, competitive market, it's like, why should we come to Vector? Who is Vector? Nobody knew, even though we were around for 10 years until this year. Now we've got people going, who's Vector? Where did they come from? They almost think we're a national company that came into town because of that many vans came that fast, even though we were around for nine years before without a wrap. But again, on the commercial side, we didn't really need it per se. So getting key employees in the beginning was kind of a huge obstacle. Wouldn't you agree, Karen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Bringing the key employees in, but then also now that you have this brand, the expectation, Tom and I's expectation is always, well, most people is here. We're always up here. So now it's different. There's new expectations within the company that everybody has had to adopt to. New employees, obviously it's easier bringing it in, but those are key things. And everything now is, SOPs. You need to put SOPs in place and
standard operating procedures.
And set that expectation for everyone. And then it really does make a better work environment. So,
you said something, Karen, that I see hold a lot of companies back at your stage, which is the push and pull as you change and as you grow. New employees adopt it very easily because they don't know anything different. Your old employees who are used to things the way they were, and sometimes maybe even like it better more casually back then, right? You could have a messy van because there wasn't as much pride in that van, or you could head out a little early because you didn't have as many jobs, all those different things. How do you deal with that, Karen? How do you address that change?
Well, I think it's one thing we really do is everybody has a voice in the company. And it's not always about you have to do this, you have to do that. Yes. But I think it's the way communication is brought to them. And then, getting it documented and then just following through. And there's a lot of conversations one-on-one and discussing it. And, at some points there may be employees that say, you know what, this just isn't the right fit for me. But that's okay. And we wish people the best when they leave, and it's not personal, but
you say that kind of nonchalantly, but having kind of lived with you through a few of those, it's hard.
It is.
It is hard when somebody who helped you grow to where you're at says, this isn't for me. But I've always found, because camp's growing too, we have the same kind of issues. I've always found it's better for them and it's better for the company when you finally just let what
Yes.
should happen. It's hard though. It is really hard.
It is hard, again, we always have had the family philosophy, but now there just has to be hard decisions at times.
Yep, I hear you.
Yeah.
Speaking of change, there's a lot of change in the market right now, right? Lots going on. How are you guys keeping up? I mean, your growth, I can't even imagine ordering the vans and then figuring out where to park them changes you guys have to deal with, let alone everything else. What are you guys doing to keep up with the changes happening in the market?
Well, we are, the vans is a huge, because it's like, it takes literally sometimes 2 months to get a van. So how do you hire somebody and time it on the van? And we have some, so part of that is they may have to ride along until the van's done. We generally, it's a balancing act to hire ahead, but not too soon. As you know, it's expensive. And so that's always we're in a unique position now where Karen doesn't even like run ads on Indeed. We have people that want to work for our company that we're like, hey, we're not ready right now. So if it's, we have a couple installers, we have people that are like, hey, when you're ready, I want to come on. Because they're telling us, this isn't us saying it, the word on the street is Vector's the place to come work at. And that's a huge
I am
compliment.
so glad you said that. I was just reading on a Facebook group that I'm a part of in the trades. Someone said, hey, I need to know where to hire people. I'm getting fleeced by all these things. They're spending all this money on Indeeds and, all these different hiring platforms. What do I do? And most people chirped back in with what you said, like build a culture that people want to tell their friends about, because tradespeople hang out with tradespeople. I love that you said that for sure. On that note, one of the things I've loved about both of you guys as I've had a chance to learn who you guys are as people as well as business leaders is how you lead your business, you lead your teams, you lead with customers. I'll break in real quick and just tell a funny story. I was talking to Tom and Karen about this the big last weekend, saying, hey, don't forget. And they said, hang on a second, we got to go deliver this space heater. I think it was you were delivering, because one of your customers, his heat was out. You couldn't get to him to the next day. And the house was so big, they needed 2 heaters, not one, if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, and that's kind of that servant leadership. So is that what you guys subscribe to, or can you tell me a little bit about your leadership philosophies?
Yeah. Again, it's we as leadership, or as leadership team members, we will do whatever it takes. And it doesn't matter if it's 3 a.m. or 8 o'clock at night. I knew a customer needed heaters. I said, hey, just let them know. I do have dinner plans, but hey, I am willing to, we're going to be driving right past the house, right through the town. You know what, let's drop some more off. So we're not afraid to jump in and do whatever it takes. And we get a lot of phone calls at 2 a.m. And when we answer, they're like, oh, I thought I was going to get a voicemail. It's actually you. And they're like, no, it's us. And sorry, are you an answering service? No, we're one of the owners. And people think that's crazy. And, I think sometimes people think, why would you do that? At the size of your business, you're still answering the phones. Yep. We answer the phones all night. We answer it on there because, Tom always jokes around. He goes, no, we still answer the phones. And too many times people are just getting voicemails or answering services, and you don't know who you're talking to on the other end. You're actually talking to us. So
yeah, your speed to lead, I think, is one of the things you guys track on your KPIs. And I think it's probably one of the best that I've heard of. So
we do.
I mean, back to that point, and we all know AI is coming and it's taking over, and that's why people are shocked when we answer the phone. And we make a point, of course, during the day we have a team that answer the phone, but at 6 o'clock those phone gets rolled to, we rotate weeks. So Karen and I have a 1 week and Mark has it another week, and we answer the phones because there's so many people that want to talk to somebody, and they're just going to keep going down the list. I mean, we get the calls, they're like, oh, you're the 6th plumber I've called. And I'm like, well, hey, yeah.
If you don't want to talk to them, do you say things like, and I saw the glitch, like just to act like AI, just to pretend?
No, they're just shocked that they're waking us up, and they're like, oh, I thought I was going to leave you a message. And that's okay. But, that's until we can find. We've tried some answering services, but on our commercial side is a little bit unique, and it's like there are, they don't want to talk to an answering service. If there's a PetSmart with a water heater that's down and they need that up by the morning, they're going to want to talk. So one of our clients is, so that's why we still answer the phones. Is it always going to be that way? No, but until we want to make sure we have people in place that can do that for us until the
Is that what
right.
you'd describe it then, literally? I mean, because the question was about like the leadership particular, right? So is it servant leadership? Are you just, people have said to me on that question before, I wouldn't do anything I wouldn't ask somebody else to do. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, because you could, at this point, you guys could go hire someone to answer the calls.
Right. Lead by example, obviously. And it's like, they're amazed, the employees are amazed. They're like, they see our emails at 11 o'clock at night and 5 a.m. and they're like, one of the employees was joking about, actually it was Aaron. He was talking about somebody else. And he's like, they go, well, I work a lot. And Aaron goes, I've never seen anybody that works as much as Tom and Karen. And that's not because we're at different points in our lives. I mean, we're fortunate. Our kids, we have 6 kids, 3 each. They're all adults and they're having grandbabies. And Karen we just found out that Karen's oldest is having another one. So
Katie is a great name for a girl. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah.
So, but we tell people we're in a different point. It's hard when you have little kids, or it's hard when you have to run to dance, or you have to run to soccer or choir, or whatever it is. We're at our point in our lives where we absolutely love what we're doing, and it's not work to us. We love, and we're fortunate to have each other that we can feed off of each other, and both have our strengths and weaknesses.
That's a great segue.
People also say that it's not healthy. Sometimes they're like, that's not healthy. And we do take our breaks. You know what? There's times we're just like, shut the phone down. We're going to go golf. And, we do take time away, but for the most part, we work and we know it, but it's healthy for us because it makes us happy.
As one business owner to another business owner, I always have a challenge when someone says something like that to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will answer your calls on Saturdays, Sundays. If I can't, I don't, right? Like I don't, but if I can, I will. When they're like, well, you're on vacation, don't answer your emails. Do you know what stresses me out? Not looking at my emails. Like I can't do that. I cannot sit there, relax on a beach. I can if I just pop. So I get that people mean that from a place of kindness and concern, right. But everyone's got their own journey. Like everyone's got to like what works for you doesn't necessarily work for someone else. And that's what we really have to respect. I think is that.
Exactly.
Well, and a backstory to that too, Katie, when one of the first, our friendship and our business partnership and friendship started, we landed on a plane and you called us on Super Bowl Sunday a year ago and you said, Karen, you need to come to my house and to take pictures because your pictures are terrible. And your website, Katie and Camp was doing what they're hired to do. And we're like, Karen's like, she called us on Super Bowl Sunday. And
right.
Like
the Vikings weren't in it, so.
Yeah. Well, but it shows that you care, though,
yeah.
And and you're much like us, and that's why we relate so well together because you're just like, I'm going to call Karen, and you did.
This is a great segue into something I wanted to ask you guys about because you did start out $5. I love that story. You're a husband and wife. I love that story. So many of us can resonate with that. What's one piece of advice maybe each of you guys would give somebody starting out, or one piece of advice you'd give somebody in a similar situation?
Tim, do you want to go first, or?
Well, I'm going to steal yours, so it's don't be afraid to ask for help.
Fight! I knew we were going to get there.
Don't be afraid to ask for help, and know when it is to hire the right people on, and with that.
Mm-hmm. And I guess mine was going to be more of, it's okay to have failures. Failures don't mean that you've failed all across. It's bumps. It's bumps in the road, and there's forks in the road, and you have to go left or right, and there's chances. You just have to take them, but it's okay. And I think sometimes when something didn't work out and they fail, then they're like, oh, they defeated, and then another thing, and the next one doesn't work, and it's okay. Sometimes it takes 5-10 different steps, and then it's like, okay, I finally got it. But
I love that because I think that if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough.
Right.
You're just
absolutely.
not. I mean, you didn't push hard enough to see where that breaking point is, for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
What's next for you and your business? What's next for Vector Services?
Well, we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue bring on more key players. Our goal this year is to come up to maybe 35 vans. Our goal and our one goal is to, for me personally, it's like to go from $5 and to break that 10 million in a year is really something that I want to. It's just a personal drive for me. And again, there's companies that do, we know a lot of people that do, 10 million is just starting, but it's just a number. It's a good number for me, to go, hey, we've, not saying that 6.5, 6.75 is not a bad number, but that's so that we want to continue to grow at a healthy pace in town. Where the recognition is, now we're getting great employees, which is, exciting. Karen, what do your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's continuing to grow. Kind of fine tuning some areas and how we can make them stronger and better. So it's and again, it's involving. I've been really trying to push involving more employees that you just see as natural leaders, and you get their input and you give them that voice, and they get excited about it. They really it just makes them feel really good, and that's what we want to continue to do.
Are you having a hard time adjusting from the $5 in the gas tank to, I mean, $10 million is a different business. It's $6 million is a different business. We've gone through those iterations at camp, and I have to stop quite often and reflect and go, okay, it's a different business. I have a different role. My job has to change, because if you don't pull your head out, sometimes you end up getting in the way.
Yes.
Are you guys having a hard time adjusting with that?
Karen, one thing at 2023 going into 2024, she's like, I'm going to get your phone to stop ringing. I'm like, because up until that point, I was doing all the booking. I was doing all the scheduling. I was responsible for the front end of the company. Mark was responsible for the middle part of the quotes, getting the quotes in and getting the parts ordered. And then Karen was responsible for, we always called her kicking the football through the goalpost, getting all the accounting, the billing, the payroll, and all that done. So I was taking all the calls, and she did that, and her team did to get my phone to stop ringing. So then I can work on the business, in the business, instead of in the business, as everybody states, with that. So that was huge for me, Karen.
Yes. And I think it's asking for help and giving up. I had a really hard time giving up everything that I was doing. But I don't know. We came back from one conference, and I said, Tom, I can't do it anymore. And it's almost like a therapy thing. It's almost, you know what? Okay, you've made the big step. You admitted it. Now let's get you the help, and let's, bring in the right people. It takes a village to do it, and it feels so much better in trusting and getting people that can do it better than you. And just, yeah,
I think
it's
you
a
and I
relief.
share a Midwestern disease called control freak. So
Very much so.
it is challenging for sure
It's
to do that.
hard to be able
It's
to
really
say,
hard.
I'm not going to do this. It's like it's my baby. And
Yep.
we spent 10 years doing it. Tom had a hard time not taking those phone calls anymore, not looking at the board, going, why are you scheduling things this way? He's got to let it go too.
And being okay with somebody doing it different. That's the part that was hard for me. Like, just do it this way. If you do it this way, we'll all be okay. And they were getting it done. I was just having a conversation with our client services team, and I said, okay, if you mow the lawn, at 10 a.m. and I mow the lawn at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m., the lawn still got mowed, right? Like, and I mow it this way and you mow it that way, the lawn still got mowed. But as a control freak, especially because in the trades, we're used to being problem solvers. We're used to everybody coming to us. We're used to taking care of everything. It's a hard adjustment.
It is.
Sure.
It was very hard, but it's all good steps and making us stronger.
Is there one piece of advice you'd give, like the younger Tom and Karen, besides Tom asked her to marry you earlier? Because that was just, you rolled the dice a little too long there, my friend.
True.
Is there a piece of advice you'd give each other or give yourselves when you were younger selves?
Oh, I would say for me, just not give up. I was, we've all had challenges in the past and hurdles and obstacles. And sometimes you get yourself beat down, but know that you're better than that and don't give up, and then ask for the help. So.
Right. And, Absolutely asking for help and don't be afraid to, they always say hire people smarter than you because, you can't be everything. It's just, and every conference.
I would say better looking, but we know that's not going to happen, Tom, right?
Yes,
There's
right. So,
yeah.
but I'm good. I'm good with that. So yeah, no, just ask, like I said, ask for help and just know that there's a lot of, it's not an easy journey, but it never is, then it's just like, it's okay to ask for help.
All right, I got a speed round for you guys. We're wrapping up here. I'm going to go quick, rapid fire. We'll do Tom, you answer first, and Karen, you answer second, so we can keep the speed round going. Does that work for you guys?
Sure.
Favorite way to start the day?
Coffee.
Black coffee, cream and sugar?
Cream and sugar.
Favorite book, podcast, or resource for business insights?
Think and Grow Rich.
Yep, and Can't Stop the Growth.
Greatest strength as a business leader?
Compassion.
Oh, I love that.
Work ethic and drive.
Yeah, amen to that. One tool or piece of technology you could not live without in your business?
Service Titan. Sorry.
Service Titan.
No, listen, that's been the answer for a lot of people. Shout out to Service Titan.
Yeah.
And then last one I'll ask. Favorite way, actually there's one more for this. Favorite way to unwind after a long day?
Dinner together.
Yep.
I love that. And the last one word to describe your business journey so far.
I'm going to go wild.
That was mine. Wild.
I love it. You guys, thank you so much for joining us. This was a ton of fun. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. I appreciate your candor and your authenticity and actually just even getting to know you guys. So thank you guys very, very much for joining us.
Thanks
for
Katie.
having us. And if anybody out there needs to reach out, they can reach out through you. I mean, we've been, been through it and we've got a long ways to go, but we're willing to help out anybody that needs it.
I'm glad you said that. Actually, I'll take a second to say, there's a lot of amazing shop tours out there, really great places. I think, we think about going from 600,000 to 50 million is a hard jump. You got to go 600 to a million to 3 to 7 to 10. Those are the jumps you got to think about. So it'd be great if you guys are open to it. We could love to put some people in contact with you.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So,
Then we can bring them down to Camp Digital.
Hey, do a tour, get a free lunch.
Exactly.
All right. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to connect with me personally, you can find me at chadmpeterman.com. To see what our team's up to, you can visit petermanbros.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel and consider joining the CSTG Arena. As always, keep growing out there.